Hey everyone, welcome back to another Koji update video. I'm going to try and keep this one quick and short. There's been a lot of progress, both technically and just in terms of thinking on instant remixing. So if you saw the video from last week, you saw the first version of mobile first instant remixing. That's continued to evolve, and it's become clear to us as we continue to play with it that that is the most valuable kind of consumer remix pattern moving forward. The editor, the Koji web editor, is awesome. It's amazing. It can do all kinds of things. But having this kind of instant, focused, curated experience for creating these lightweight, virally pieces of content is the direction that I think we're going to start to see things shift in moving forward. So let me show you two apps and show you kind of how these things have evolved. So this is Jason made this, which is awesome. You guys have probably seen this meme, this pattern. I've seen it all over Instagram. Someone made kind of just a little web app where it's wired into, I think, the Last.fm API, and you can grab album art and replace these albums and generate your own. This is an awesome pattern for a Koji instant remix. So if I go here and remix it, so if you saw instant remixing in the last video, it was Koji templates that exposed their quick start VCC list as a menu down in the bottom left. The new instant remix pattern leaves it up to the template developer to deal with presenting VCC controls. So this could mean that you as a template developer just make a menu inside of your template that lists all of the available customizations that you want, kind of like your own version of the quick start. But what it really does that's powerful is it lets you as a template developer define editable regions inside of it that the user can interact with to present individual VCCs. So in this case, when I'm in instant remix mode, the app shows these overlays over the editable things, and if I click them, I can change the images inside of them. And then obviously I can save this and it's done. So that's a change from what it was originally. It puts a little bit more work on you, the template developer, because now you need to kind of consider the best way of presenting some of these interfaces. You don't need to make the interfaces. That's what VCCs are for, thankfully. But you do need to think about, okay, how do I best present the editable regions to the user who's remixing this, who is probably, in this case, if they're doing these instant remixes, not a technical person, someone who would be, really scared if you showed them the actual Koji editor with all of the different VCC sections. The goal here is to make this much more consumer friendly and easy to use. So the other thing that I've been playing with, which is a more complex template, uses video capture and pose detection, which is now available in a new VCC type. The video VCC type, if you look at developer documentation, shows how you can get pose detection data on a frame by frame basis from uploaded video, which lets you do some of these cool things. So this is just kind of a choice menu, and I can click one of these, and then it defines a shape based on the position of, in this case, my wrists, and presents something inside of it. So this, from an instant remix perspective, is a lot more complex than the other one. The first thing I think to pay attention to is this bottom section, where the app in the quick start JSON defines the possible states it can be in. So in this case, I can easily, when I'm remixing this, swap between the two scenes that are in this experience. If this were a game, this might be like, okay, game over, game start, lose, level 1, 2, whatever. I think it's a valuable pattern because it means you don't have to keep playing through the thing to be able to focus in on editing one specific section of it. The other thing to pay attention to here is the behavior of objects in the VCC editor. So like this text that I just clicked on here, I can change the text here, and I can change, the color. And generally the idea here is that this should feel kind of like editing something with your mobile keyboard. These are just kind of keyboard accessories rather than big full screen controls that completely occlude the view of what's behind it. So you can actually see what's going on as you're doing things here. Likewise with this character, I can change the image, I can change what it says, I can change the offset and the size because it's attached to the wrist, so it might not be exactly where I want it to be. Yeah, and then, so I guess the big thing to pay attention to here is that this kind of an interface, well, it is going to require some more work as these templates are being built. and not that much more work, really. Just kind of more work than not doing it, I guess. It's not like this is a ton of work required. This is basically 2 new event handlers on the Koji VCC Instant Remix class to let you know when the app is being remixed, let you know when the states are being changed, and then you, as the template developer, just need to handle click events on some of these regions. But this kind of experience where I can show up here and see something and play with it and be like, wow, that's super cool. And I can go ahead and I can make my own sort of instantly, and I can change things around, and then I can republish it and have something new that I've just created. I think that consumer experience, the size of the audience that you as a developer are now able to reach with this pattern is so much larger than it ever would be with the normal remixing pattern, which is why I'm super excited about this. And this kind of goes back to some of what we were talking about in the last video, where really the way we look at Koji is not as kind of a catalog of hyper-casual HTML5 games, which is cool, it's awesome, they're amazing. But it kind of takes it, we're looking at it from one level up, which is, this is a factory that produces new types of social media posts. Games are obviously one type of posts that are incredibly valuable for certain use cases, for certain audiences. And they're going to continue to be a focus for some time. But as we're kind of growing as a company and as a platform, and especially if we start to see tools like this instant remixing, where there's a lot of power for different modes of expression and interactivity, I think we're going to start to see a lot more cool and interesting things as we start to think about this thing and realign toward that goal. So if you want to play around with this new pattern for instant remixing, these 2 apps will be linked in the description of this video. You can remix them and see how it's done, or you can look at the Koji VCC library on GitHub and check out the documentation to understand how it works and start to play around with some of these things. That's kind of where I want to leave it for this video. Expect to see a lot more work being done polishing what some of these controls look like in the actual editor, especially the mobile experience. This is, I've spent a little bit of time on this already, but it's going to get a lot cooler and more compelling and easy to use. Expect to see probably some changes to the homepage and discovery and browsing and kind of how that feels and what's promoted as we start to get more of these non-game interactive posts to go alongside the games. And also expect to see different changes to the types of templates that we are incentivizing the community to produce once we get a little better about defining what these new things are. There's going to be opportunities for developers to kind of stretch their brains in different ways, which I think should be fun. Yeah, so that was a bit rambly. I hope it made sense and kind of give some clarity as to where we're headed and where our heads are at with this thing. I'm more excited now than I've ever been in the life of this project, and I've been super excited for most of it. So if that's any sort of barometer, I offer that to you. Feel free to get in touch if you have any questions, ideas, suggestions, challenges, the usual. And yeah, have a great week, everyone.